Guys, don't let your motherboard be the reason why your entire computer build has stability problems. What's up everybody, it's Adam with AdamTech, and today we're going to be starting a new video series where I'm going to be shopping for a brand new computer for my own personal needs. I wanted to take you through the steps of what I go through and do, and what I try to find, how I research parts, and why and how I pick certain parts. This is planned on being an episode series, so this is going to be probably episode number 1 of 9 or 10, and we're going to go through all these different components of all the computers and parts that you need. For starters, if you want to follow along, I'm going to have a link to the part in the description down below the video from PC Part Picker that will help you find the parts, find the best deals, and make sure that anything that you're picking is personally compatible. On top of that, I'm going to go through my needs, what brands I recommend. We're going to be going through power requirements, compatibility, and future proofing. When I build computers, I typically want them to last at least for 10 years, usually just electronically. And you can only get that by buying good quality parts. We're going to go through the list of all the components and just go narrow it down one by one so we know exactly what parts to get for one of the most stable builds you can possibly get. PC Part Picker is a fantastic resource for not only finding parts, but finding the best deals. But me personally, when I'm looking for parts, I like to just start on Newegg. They have the greatest selection of computer parts. I've been using them for decades, ever since my first build, many years ago. And they're just absolutely fantastic. So I always start here looking for these particular parts. Today, we're going to be going for a motherboard. So when it comes to your motherboard, that is going to be the Cornerstone, the absolute insanely robust piece of hardware that you need to have on the computer for stability, as it controls every single thing that's plugged into it. You know, your RAM, graphics card, SSD, CPU, Wi-Fi, any other power phases, all those sort of things are all controlled by the motherboard itself. If you don't have a good foundation, it's going to set you up for failure in the long run. So definitely make sure you do your research and get a good quality board. Unfortunately, motherboards have gone up in price a lot. It's absolutely absurd. For reference, my previous build that I did, which was in 2016, that motherboard was $299. I've done a video about it, and we'll have that linked as well and probably popping up somewhere if that happens. And it was a fantastic, beautiful board. The only reason I'm upgrading my system entirely is because I just need newer things for what I'm doing. More streaming, more output, more editing, all those sort of things. I want to just have no more bottlenecks. And I'm starting to see the CPU bottleneck just a little bit. When coming through and doing research on a motherboard, you just go through components and storage, motherboard, and I know that I'm sticking with Intel. So since I know I'm going to be going through and doing that, it kind of sets the stage for what we were looking for. I am ASUS proud, and I have not used any other boards for my personal systems, and I have had 0 computers have any failures that I've personally built. And I've always used ASUS boards for myself, family, personally, professionally, you name it. So we're sticking with ASUS themselves. Sold by Newegg, I like to see that, so that way you know you're getting something that's pretty decent. Go back to ASUS themselves. And then the socket that we're going for is also important, because we're going to be going for this LGA 1851 socket. That's the newest standard from Intel that's probably only going to last for this gen of processors, so it's a little unfortunate, but that's what we're going for this particular video. And we've narrowed it down a lot to one page of boards, and it's really not all that bad. Let me just make sure that there's nothing here. Open box, I don't want any of those. If you want to find an open box for something for yourself, that's perfectly fine, but my stuff here, I want it to all be like brand spanking condition. I want it to be brand new. I don't buy any open box, anything. That narrows down the boards quite a bit. Furthermore, looking through, you find boards that are anywhere from $100, and let's go ahead and search by, how do we sort by lowest price? $122, and to the highest price going up to $963. And while there's a big price difference between the $100 board and the $900 board, you kind of might be wondering, all right, well, why don't we just get the cheaper board? Or why don't we just go for the most expensive board if money is not an option? There's a sweet middle ground for these boards. And you can just kind of see some of the descriptions here of what it comes with. This is an extreme based, this is an EATX, which I guess we should talk about motherboards. They come in 3 standard sizes and like 4 to 5 different sizes entirely. You have ATX, which is the most standard size, MATX, which is micro ATX, which is the board that's going to be smaller, usually just cut lengthwise. And then you have ITX, micro ITX boards. And those are the really small ones. I would not recommend getting a micro ITX. You just kind of shoot yourself in the foot. There's no point in it, especially if you're going to be building a small system. You don't want that because you're just going to be creating more heat and having more problems. So I like to go with just a standard ATX. This one up here is an EATX. If you get an EATX, that stands for extended ATX, so it's wider of a board. You're going to want to make sure you get a case that would support that, but that's in a future video. The 24 plus 2 plus 2+1+2 stages. That's going to be pretty much for the power that this can give to the other components that are on it. And it's going to be really important that you get something that's not just the standard phase. And that's where some of these, just these top two right here, you can see 24+2, and then 22+2, and there's different stages. So you might be asking yourself, well, why don't we just go for something right in the middle, right? $450, $300. What's wrong with any of those boards? Well, as we come through and kind of see some of these, the ASUS Tough gaming boards used to be some of the most rock solid boards you could get on the consumer grade for a very inexpensive price. They used to offer a 5-year warranty and were very, very solid. ASUS has had some quality slips with that particular side, so I would not recommend the Tough gaming anymore. I go with either the ROG Strix or with the, the Maximus. My previous one was a Maximus Hero. Love that board. And this one, I've been looking through some of the research on these boards, and we're probably going to be sticking with, it was between the Creator one, because this will be Creator, or this one right here, the Z890E Gaming Wi-Fi. Another really important part is that if you need Wi-Fi, make sure it comes with Wi-Fi. There are some boards that have it integrated. Most of these do. And then there are going to be some boards that do not have it integrated, which is probably going to be the lower cost boards. The Prime series boards as well are fantastic entry-level boards. If we just compare real quick the power phases, this has, 12, that's a Tough gaming. This one has 10+1+2+1. And then the one that I'm thinking about up here, this Strix E, has 18+2+1+2. So already significantly more. And then if we go up here, 24, so you get even more. I have had a lot of these higher end boards come defective, either from failed installation from a customer, or just it's got way too many things going on with it, way too many parts of failure, and it just gives you issues. So the most expensive thing isn't always the best, but the least expensive thing is usually always the worst. Now, the nice thing about all of these boards is they all are going to be supporting DDR5 and the latest Wi-Fi 7 standard. I don't connect Wi-Fi, so that doesn't really mean too much to me. I think these are going to have 5 gig or 2.5 gig Ethernet, which is fine. I'm not even at a gig yet, so it still doesn't matter. And I don't do a lot of LAN transfers itself, so that won't be a big deal. Most of the time, you're just going for quality, reliability, and then some features. So looking at these boards, I mean, this one right here, the Strix Z890E Gaming Wi-Fi seems to be the best bet. The one below it, the Z890A Gaming Wi-Fi, is also seemingly pretty good. This has a few less on the power. It's got 16+2. This one has 18+2. And for the $110 extra, it can be worth it. But I would say that these two boards, this one right here, we do the compare and the compare. These two would be your best bet. The one right in between it, that's that's the micro ITX. You can see how much smaller that one is. Very, very small. Would not recommend it. Let's go ahead and just compare these two products here and see what we've got. We do not need any recommendations. No, thank you. And generally, this will give a good lay of the land of what the differences are between these particular systems. DDR5, how much RAM they can take, the different speeds. All those should be very vanilla and pretty similar. For some reason, this one on the left supports higher overclocked memory than the one on the right, but that's really kind of about it. This has a few more M.2 slots, which isn't really too big of a deal. The highlights aren't really the differences. I don't know what the highlights are. It's got a higher LAN speed, which again isn't a big deal. Same Bluetooth standards. So it's really just going to be the power that it comes with, the overclocking ability that it has, and some of the extra features that it might include with like maybe some RGB elements or something like that. So what I'm going to end up doing is actually grabbing this board right here. This is going to be the board that we're going to pick for this system, and it's going to be absolutely rock solid. Again, this board is meant to last me for at least 8 to 10 years. So I want something that's going to last. And as I always say, with computers and electronics, if you build them correctly, use high quality parts, and protect them electrically, they will last, period. Every upgrade I've done with my computers is because I've wanted to, not because I've been forced to. And then usually I can turn around and sell my computer for a good chunk of money to make up for the cost of what I'm buying. So with that in mind, we go over to the PC Parts Picker website, and we go to the motherboard. We're going to choose a motherboard. You can kind of select some things and maybe do the same sort of organization stuff here. I don't really care to do that. I'm just going to search for 890E gaming Wi-Fi. So that's the one that we're going to be going for, is the Strix Z890E. Now, if you check that out right there, we're going to add this to the parts list. And with the board selected, the next choice is going to be going for the processor. So in the next video that you'll see, we're going to be going through the whole steps of what Intel processor we're going to pick, why we're picking it, some of the alternatives, and why that might be a good choice for you. Subscribe to see that stuff in the future. Give it a like if you like this video. Let me know what your build, your planning is in the description down below. If you have any pictures as well, let me know. I'd love to see them, roast them, comment on them, anything like that. So thank you so much for watching episode number 1. This has been the Don with the Don Tech. And remember, the Don's got your back.